Yes. Grand Risings family. Hope all is well. Hope as well. Alright, so we're coming for the first news story of the day. I found this particularly interesting, bearing in mind the times in which we're living in. Okay, so yeah, I think potentially the first bit of skullduggery or maybe nepotism or something like that. So, but let us read on. So the headline is firm with links to Gove and Cummins giving COVID-19 contract without open tender. Okay, and we see this is by David Conn and Peter Geohan. So it reads, the Cabinet Office has awarded an £840,000 contract to research public opinion about government policies to a company owned by two long-term associates of Michael Gove and Dominic Cummins without putting the work out for tender. Public First, a small policy and research company in London, is run by James Frayne, whose work alongside Cummins, the Prime Minister's senior advisor, dates back to Eurosceptic campaign 20 years ago, and Rachel Wolfe, a former advisor to Gove, who co-wrote the Conservatives' 2019 election manifesto. The government justified the absence of a competitive tendering process, which would have enabled other companies to bid under emergency regulations that allow services to be urgently commissioned in response to the COVID-19 crisis. However, the Cabinet's Office public records state that portions of the work, which involved focus group research related to Brexit rather than COVID-19, a joint investigation by The Guardian and Open Democracy has established. A Cabinet Office spokesman said this was because of bookkeeping methods and insisted that, contrary to government records, all the focus group research done by Public First was related to the pandemic. The Cabinet Office, where Gove is the minister responsible, initially commissioned Public First to carry out focus groups from the 3rd of March, although no contract was put in place until the 5th of June. Government work is legally required to put out for competitive tender to ensure the best qualified company is appointed, unless there are exceptional circumstances such as an unforeseen emergency. When a contract was finally produced on the 5th of June, it was made retrospective to cover the work done since the 3rd of March. We know what that means, family. The Cabinet Office paid Public First £253,000 for the two projects listed as being Brexit related and two more pieces of work done before the contract was put in place. Public First was required to conduct focus groups covering the general public and key subgroups according to a Cabinet Office letter. The firm was required to provide the government with top-line reporting of their findings on the same day, with fuller findings reported the following day. The deal also included on-site resource to support Number 10 communications in the form of a Public First partner, Gabriel Milland, being second to Downing Street until the 26th of June. Milland was the head of communications at the Department for Education when Gove was the minister and Cummins was his political advisor. The Cabinet Office said in the letter that it had commissioned the work from Public First for a total of £840,000 without any tender due to unforeseeable consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic. According to further details published by the government under its transparency requirements, Public First was paid £58,000 on the 18th of March for its first focus group work, classed by the Cabinet Office as being for Government Commission's Euro Exit Programme. Then a further £75,000 on the 20th of March for work classed as Insight and Evaluation. On the 2nd of April, 10 days into lockdown and with increasing numbers of people dying from COVID-19, the Cabinet Office paid Public First £42,000 for work listed again as EU Exit Comms. The first payout for work listed as being coronavirus related was on the 27th of May for £78,187.07. A total of £253,187.07 was paid to the Public First before The contract was entered into on the 5th of June. The Cabinet Office spokesman told The Guardian that all focus group work was related to the government's COVID-19 messaging and that the references to Brexit in the government's official disclosures were misleading. He said the Cabinet Office Accounts Department did not immediately open a cost code classification for expenditure relating to the crisis, so the payments were initially allocated to an existing cost code, which included communications about Brexit. The political partnership of Frayne and Cummins date back to at least 2000 when they worked together on Business for Sterling, the campaign against Britain joining the euro. In 2003, they co-founded a right-wing think tank, the New Frontiers Foundation, and the following year set up the campaign to fight the proposed formation of regional assembly in northeast England. Cummins has described that successful campaign, which was based on portraying politicians as a drain on ordinary people, as a training exercise for an EU referendum. Gove became the Educational Secretary after the 2010 election, with Cummins as his chief political advisor, and Frayne was appointed as the department's Director of Communications the following year. In 2010, Wolf, a former special advisor to Gove, was running the New Schools Network to promote free schools, which was awarded £500,000 contract by the department that year, again without a tender. It was justified on the basis that it was the only organisation able to provide expert support quickly enough. The Cabinet Office contract with Public First is being challenged by the Good Law Project, which wrote to Gove on Thursday arguing that the absence of tendering process was unlawful and not justified by the COVID-19 provisions. In a letter telling Gove that they plan to seek a judicial review of the contract award, the project's lawyers, Rook Irwin Sweeney, argue there is apparent bias in the contract going to Public First due to their close personal and professional connections with Gove and Cummins. Asked if Public First links to Gove and Cummins were a factor in the firm being awarded the contract, the Cabinet Office spokesman replied, "This is nonsense. Public First were contracted to undertake this work because of their wealth of experience in the area. Public First was awarded a contract to carry out daily focus groups across the country in response to COVID-19 crisis," the spokesman said. They carried out this work to make sure the vitally important public health messages the government was issuing were the right ones. This work will continue to inform future COVID-19 campaign activity. Rachel Reeves, the shadow Cabinet Office Minister, said, "It beggars belief that the government's desperate defence of handing a contract for daily focus groups to COVID-19 to long-standing friends of ministers is a coincidence, and to blame clerical incompetence for the reference to the work on Brexit. They should come clean about the purpose of this project, why this company was chosen without it going to tender, and publish the research findings and the recommendations for people to see for themselves." And lastly, Public First declined to comment. Okay, family. So I know that was a little bit long, but it was very interesting still, because basically what we have is government ministers, giving out projects to their closest, their nearest and dearest. So yeah, I'll be interested to hear what the family think about that. Please do leave your comments below, and don't forget, if you haven't,